Welcome to the T2 Hubcast. Join Martin, Dave, Spencer and guests as they discuss all things personal and professional development. The T2 Hubcast, brought to you by the People Performance People.
So welcome to the T2 Hubcast with me, Martin Johnson.
And me, Lydia English.
Lydia, you're back.
I'm back.
It's been a while. You've been demoted in the rankings of the podcast agenda.
I know.
We've had a few
consultant in, and then that's it. I'm kicked out.
So we've obviously brought Victoria Garrett on board, who is a new T2 consultant. She's done a couple of podcasts. We've got me, Dave, and Spencer, who are part of the furniture, and we continue to do them. So it's like the other day, I was like, Lydia, you've done two. We started building momentum, and then let's get back in. So this is a testament, though, to how far Lydia's come, because I think she was a bit nervous about the first one, but she was ultra prepared.
Yeah.
Second one, it was like, I'll go with it. I'm still got my notes and I'm still prepared. Whereas this one, you're like, well, let's just go for it.
Let's wing it.
And now that we're actually live and on the podcast, she's probably bricking it, aren't you, Lyd?
Yeah. And the foggiest, what we're going to talk about.
Well, what we're going to talk about on this podcast is organisational analysis and surveys. Sort of the whole topic of measurement. And, you know, like there's lots of organisations who do employee engagement surveys, organisational culture surveys. We do things at an individual level, like leadership 360s and personal development feedback, upwards feedback surveys, all of these great stuff. And it's all analysis. It's all designed to give us a bit of a SWOT, either on the organisation or ourselves. What do we do well? What do we not do well? What's our opportunities? What's our barriers? What's our areas to build on? And it can cause analysis paralysis, because as we know over the time that we've operated with many different businesses, organisations, public sector organisations, that they love a good survey, Lyd.
Yeah, they do.
And not just one survey. It's like survey after survey, and then we'll repeat them every 6 months. And, you know, and it's great, but I sense, and this is the first question I'll bring you in on, I sense that if they're not done properly, if they're not well thought through, if they're not targeted at the right people, if they don't ask the right questions, and if the results you gain from them don't result in action and change, people become pretty skeptical about them.
Definitely.
And participate in them the longer they go on. It's another bloody survey.
Yeah.
The last one came out 2 years ago, and this hasn't changed since then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they are incredibly useful. I'm going to talk about it on this podcast. But would you agree they can equally become almost like a gimmick? They can become, their value can be diluted if organisations don't use them effectively.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, it can become a bit overkill if, you know, we're sending out surveys left, right and centre. And especially if they're not seeing any change going on in the organisation as well. It's like, another survey, you know, is actually that me filling this in going to make any difference? And people get bored of doing them.
Do you think people also worry about answering them objectively?
Yeah, definitely. I think people think, right, so if I'm going to answer this honestly, am I going to get...
Yeah, is this going to go against me?
Exactly, further down the line. And so I think there is a bit of skepticism around them in that respect, whereas people are like, right, you're saying this is anonymous, but actually is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's somewhere in the ether of the back end of the system. My name's going to come up as I answered this question as, you know, needs improvement, and then that's going to go against me for my career progression or whatever it might be. Yeah. There's a trust. So I think that's the first point. We need buy-in and trust to do effective organisational analysis and surveys. The fact that I can answer these questions completely, independently, honestly, and I'm safe.
Yeah.
That's really important, isn't it? So the first thing is, don't overdo it. The second thing we've discussed already is, if there's an absence of action as a result of the output, people will very quickly become disengaged from them.
Yeah.
And you won't get the buy-in for future surveys. And thirdly, you need to build an element of trust and understanding around, you know, how anonymous these surveys are and how confidential results are kept.
Yes.
And it's not going to come back on you. type thing.
exactly.
So let's look at, I mean, we've developed our own, obviously, diagnostic tools here at T2 on the hub. We've got the ability to do any organisational survey, from a cultural one to an engagement, to a team analysis, to a temperature check, right down to an individual 360 or gap analysis survey. And, I think organisations need to think about how they deploy them, where they deploy them, and how they communicate them, because they can be your greatest tool.
Yeah.
Without question, we've seen that. They can be your greatest tool, or for the reasons we've already discussed, they can become a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it might be worth exploring, like, what organisations get wrong versus what the organisations who drive outcomes do right.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm going to put into the mix, Lyd, is the audience who you ask.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
No.
So don't cherry pick the audience who are going to give you the answers you want to hear.
I get you. Okay, yeah.
So it's dangerous, in my opinion, to go, oh, let's do a cultural survey, but we'll ask these 3 departments who are really happy and our top performers.
Yes.
And we won't ask the basket case department where everybody's leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
because that'll dilute our impact, and we want to promote a great place to work.
That'll bring our scores down if we ask that department, yeah.
And I think that takes bottle to be able to go, let's ask a plethora of departments, and actually we're going to really engage the ones who we think aren't unhappy, or the ones who do have problems, or the ones who will speak their mind.
Yeah.
I still think, I don't know if you agree, I still think too many people cherry pick the audience.
Definitely, yeah, because you're not getting a full picture if you're cherry picking.
And just like the opposite direction, you can't just pick the ones who you think are going to be challenging and who have problems.
Yeah.
Because all you will get is the negatives. So balance is the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Try to reach, if you're going to do an organisation-wide survey, you need to have enough people participate from enough departments, from different standards of performance to get a balanced view.
Yeah. Because really, if you're measuring organisational culture, you're measuring the culture of the entire organisation. So just cherry picking certain departments, you're not going to get the full picture of what's going on.
Let me ask you a bit of a practical question. In your experience, you've done a lot of them, you've created a lot of hours. How many questions should be in a survey? Now, you might say it depends on the nature of the survey, but would you agree that there can be too many and people become sick of answering question after question, but there also can be too little?
Yes. I mean, really, I would say maximum 50 questions, maybe.
For an organisational one?
For an organisational one. For one, say you're doing a 360 one, maybe about 20 to 30, I think. I think also in the past when I filled in surveys, you get those questions which they're asking the same thing. So you answer a question and then 10 questions later, you're like, right, well, I've already answered this.
Yeah, because it's too similar.
Yeah.
So make sure there's a distinction between questions.
Yeah.
Or as much distinction as you can.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're answering a different question on a different matter.
And also with surveys, it's a good idea to divide them into sections as well, so you kind of avoid that issue with repeating yourself. Have distinct sections of what you're measuring. You
do this quite well. So if you're going to have a 50 question survey, break it up into 5 segments of 10 questions. So my first 10 are on communication, my second 10 are on reward and recognition, all of that. So actually I can navigate my way through the survey in segments.
Yes.
And it keeps me in that space of this is where I'm at the minute and this is where I'm transitioning, rather than just 50 questions one after the other.
Yeah, it just gets a bit boring, doesn't it? And also doing that helps, once everyone's completed it, helps with the analysis and makes it much simpler, and you can see the patterns of your results.
Yeah. So organisation wide, no more than 50 questions over 3 to 5 sections.
Yeah.
And personal feedback surveys, whether that's management 360s, whether it's general, gap analysis for my individual development plan, 20 to 30 maybe.
Yeah.
Still put them into segments maybe. Like,
Yes.
so on a personal one, you could say, right, segment 1 is self-awareness. How self-aware am I? Segment 2 is how well do I collaborate with others?
Yeah.
Segment 3 could be how well do I execute upon my job, my job role. So yeah, split them up into segments and think about the questions. If you've got an organisation survey with no segments and it's 80 questions long, people are going to get bored and switched off very quickly and not know where they are, or the nature of the questions, or why they're being asked in the order that they're being asked.
Yeah, and that of course affects the accuracy of the results.
Because people just end up pressing buttons.
Yeah.
On that then, so I find it fascinating, Lyd, in terms of the way, the different types of way you can answer a question. You can make it very simple, like here's the question and there are 5 answers from strongly disagree to strongly agree and anywhere in the middle, or poor to excellent and anywhere in the middle. Or you can pose a question in a survey and let them answer it in the way they want through a comments box.
Yeah.
Or a mixture of both. What's your view on that for simplicity and getting the right results you want?
I mean, in terms of simplicity, having your answers on a scale, strongly disagree, strongly agree, for example, is a good way to go. It makes analysis a lot easier. However, some people, if they're not engaged in the survey, they might just pick the middle option.
Safe option every time.
Neither agree nor disagree.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get any valuable data that way. On the other hand, if all your questions are ones which require people to leave a comment, people are going to get bored again. So it's good to have a mixture of some. However, from an analytical point of view, it's harder to analyse when people are writing comments as well.
So you need, for simplicity of immediate scores and gap analysis, have the strongly disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree, and strongly agree.
Yeah.
So I've got 5 options there, and it's a simple sliding scale that I can choose. I actually like the one where we can go, poor, needs improvement, satisfactory, good, or excellent. It's the same principle.
Yeah.
However, it allows me to pick a score, and then if there's 100 participants, that's a very quick algorithm that puts together an average score for each question, and I've got my gap analysis straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
What we do here at T2, don't we, which I think is the nice balance, is we provide an option to activate a comments box on the questions.
Yes.
So if there's 5 questions out of the 50 that we really want feedback on, we will activate a comments box, which means they still pick the score, the sliding scale, but they can add extra comments for context. Is that right?
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And you wouldn't advise doing it for every question, but where you think there's particular questions you want feedback on, just activate a comments box on them.
Want a bit more clarity on certain areas.
Yeah. All right. So that's some discussion around the structure of the survey. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we get is people are frustrated at the lack of action after a survey. Yeah. So this survey comes out, we all complete it, we get the results at the latest management meeting, or and the broadcast to the organisation. This is what we're going to focus on. This is what our survey is telling us, and this is what we're going to make a conscious effort. 6 months later, it doesn't feel like anything's changed.
Yeah.
This is the most important message of this podcast. You have to act. You have to show that you are investing in, working on, developing the areas that have come out in this survey, so people feel like they are being heard.
Definitely, yeah.
Otherwise, the opposite happens. And I'm just going to ask you a question about a model that has sort of been developed to be able to try and deliver that, which is the Kirkpatrick model.
Yes.
The Kirkpatrick model, to my understanding, is a simple sort of pyramid, where it says, if you've done a survey and highlighted gaps, and then you have actually sort of either delivered some training or invested some money or made some change as a result of that, the Kirkpatrick model is a way of then measuring the organisational impact or results further down the line, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's 4 stages to that, isn't there?
Yes.
Reaction,
So, reaction,
which is basically what have we done? How have we responded since the training or the investment or the decision?
yeah, it's like the initial reaction from the training or the action. What
Yeah.
did you think of that?
Yes. What was the initial response?
Yeah.
The feeling in the organisation to us, and it's usually around training is the Kirkpatrick model, but I'm going to still use the model in the context of, let's say we've had a survey and it's told us something and we've made a change or a decision.
Yeah.
What's the initial reaction to that?
Yeah.
The second level is learning. How much did we learn from that, and how have we improved as a result?
Yeah.
So we've got to measure that. Level 3 is behavior. This is an interesting one. What's the changes in people's behavior as a result of this?
Yeah.
Is it positive? Are we seeing habitual patterns of behavior actually start to come to fruition in the workplace?
Yeah.
And the final one is results, which I think is the most important.
Yeah.
What are the benefits, the tangible results we have seen as a result of this investment, change, or training?
Yeah.
4 steps. Now, how do you measure that? Is it more surveys? Is it observational? Is it through managers' meetings and feedback?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of both. So I think the first 2 segments of it, so your reaction and your learning, is done through surveys. So you're getting the initial reaction from somebody, and then you're also testing kind of what knowledge they've gained, or actually what's happened.
Yeah. Do they feel more knowledgeable about this area?
Yes.
Do they feel more empowered, more confident in the organisation?
Yeah. The next 2 sections, they're more difficult to measure, because it's how do you measure someone's behaviour?
Yeah, it's observational a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly. So there you're kind of relying on the feedback of, say, the manager of a team or the
peers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to kind of measure your own behaviour and whether it's changed over a period of time.
Results is more tangible, though.
Results is more tangible, so that's kind of whether the action you've taken is making the results to the organisation as a whole. So has your sales increased?
Yeah. As the sales increased, how are we, as our technology adoption across the employees increased and more people using our systems and being compliant?
Yeah.
There's loads of different. Have we reduced costs?
Yeah. Productivity even.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you as an IT company, for example, have we reduced the amount of open tickets that are currently pending?
Yeah.
Are we answering customer calls quicker?
Yeah.
All these things can be measured as results and outcomes as a result of whatever that investment, training, or change has happened as a result of the initial diagnostic.
Yeah.
So it's almost like what I'm playing into this is what it's like is most organizations fall down because they do all of these surveys. They spend a lot of money sometimes with organizations to do these surveys, which still blows my mind, right? You can spend 6 figures with a KPMG or an Accenture or a Deloitte.
Yeah.
They write you a 50-page report to tell you what you already know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, we've done that. We're really informed and we know what we're working on.
Yeah.
But unless you continue the diagnostics and the check-ins post-decision, post-action, how do you know what's happening?
Exactly.
And that's where the Kirkpatrick model comes in, because it's saying it should never stop. This test and action, test and action, test and action. It's like, are we deriving the value, both behaviorally and tangibly, from what the initial diagnostic was telling us?
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can really do it. It doesn't stop at the completion of the initial surveys.
No, exactly. There's no point in investing your money into, distributing surveys, investing in technology, which allows you to send out the surveys, for you to get results back and go, oh, that's interesting, but then do nothing about it.
Yeah, and it's alarmingly common in organizations. I think the great leaders that we've observed are the ones who do a really good job of communicating this. So it's like they use this communication around, so back in 2019, you told us this. On the back of that, we invested and took action on X.
Yep.
We've now resurveyed and rechecked, and we have achieved X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
which has significantly advanced our organisation forward and plugged those gaps.
Yeah.
So there are storytellers. And it always has to start with, back in so-and-so time, you told us this.
Yeah.
As a result, we have acted.
Yeah,
we have
done
taken
this.
action by doing these things. And now today, as we sit here, the survey that we've redeployed is now telling us this, and the picture is much brighter.
Yeah, we've made a difference.
And these are the tangible results of the business that we're delivering.
Yeah.
That's got to happen, because then the next time you want to survey, or the next time you want to carry out something like this, you're going to have maximum buy-in, because people remember last time we did this, things happened.
Yeah.
Things changed, and that's positive.
Yeah.
So I guess what we're saying here, ladies, this: organisational analysis and surveys can be your greatest weapon, or they can actually be a big enemy for the organisation when people start to become completely disengaged from them and not believe in them. And you hear it on the shop floor. Oh, here we go, another survey.
Yeah.
Here we go again. I can't remember what, we haven't done anything since the last survey, but we'll do another one just to make sure, right? They can be your greatest, ally in terms of driving organisational performance and engaging people. But in the absence of action, they will become your biggest enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
The way to do that is to think about the decisions you make and the actions you take on the back of the analysis, and to, make sure you follow, whether it's the Kirkpatrick model or any type of model that says, how do we measure tangible value? How do we be able to do that so we can be a storyteller and link back and communicate to our people? You told us this.
Yeah.
We took action on this, and as a result, we've achieved this.
Yeah.
That's what organizations need to do. And that's what companies like ours, Lyd, at T2, we're constantly banging the drum on. You've got to do something with this data.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what is that? How do we work through that? Cool. Any other comments on organizational analysis and surveys? One question I was going to ask you before we wrap up, Lyd, is we're talking a lot about in-depth surveys.
Yeah.
But they all don't have to be in-depth.
No.
Is there a place for very quick snapshot, quick fire, temperature check type surveys that say, where are we right now, or in the last 30 days, or how does the team feel right now, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even some self-analysis. How do I get a bit of a current picture on how well I'm dealing with pressure?
Yeah.
What do we call them? We call them quick assessments, don't we? Something.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to get that quick snapshot of what's actually going on in the moment, because, as we know, things get really busy, don't they? And people are getting on, they're doing their jobs. However, it's taking that time to sit back and go, right, let's just see where we're at now.
Yeah.
Actually, are there any problems? If there are, let's action them and deal
that
with
can be
them.
week to week, day to day.
Yeah.
What we've been talking about traditionally on this podcast is like bigger surveys about the state of play in the organisation, or the current culture, or the current whatever it might be. What we're talking about here sometimes is some of the best leaders just check in every now and then and go, right, team, can you just fill in this? It's going to take you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Over the last 30 days, how would you answer these questions? Where were we at?
Yeah.
We sometimes call them temperature checks, or little, we do one on the 5 dysfunctions of a team, where it's like trust, healthy debate and discussion, commitment, accountability and results. How do people in the team feel like we're tracking against these 5 dysfunctions or functions right now?
Yeah.
And that can change quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
Depending on environment, depending on results, depending on things like the pandemic, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So don't just feel like it's the big organizational stuff. Little temperature checks and little check-ins can also give you a really valuable update on where we are right now.
Yeah. So not even from just a work perspective as well, you can do it, go down the mental health route. Actually, how
resilient am I right now?
Yeah. What's, the general well-being of your team? Because
you could we all laugh and joke here, we know a lot about resilience and mental health, but we all have our periods where we feel overwhelmed or out of control. And like one week, you might answer that well-being survey on the Friday and go, this week's been a good week. I'm in a good place.
Yep.
I'm on top of my to-do list. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Life's great.
Yep.
The following Friday, it might be, oh my God, I haven't even caught up. I'm stressed out to my eyeballs. I'm tired. I'm not sleeping very well.
Yeah.
And I'm at the opposite end of the scale. So just doing that little, where am I right now?
Yeah.
And we're working hard out to develop these on the hub around giving individuals the opportunity to just privately, in their own time, just
see where they're at.
Where am I at?
Yeah.
Where am I at from a resilience, well-being, mindset, confidence perspective, and that's really important as well. So if you're listening to this and you want to check out some of these self-assessment surveys that are on our hub, and you can go to the quick assessments and surveys, and you'll be able to just see what we've got on the library. And if you want to find out a bit about yourself and where you are right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Lyd, that's 25 minutes. I think in summary, organisational analysis, surveys, we feel like we're bloody surveyed up to the max at the minute. Every organisation's dishing them out left, right and centre. They are a great tool. Think about how you're using them. But the main point is, in the absence of action, you're going to lose your people and they're going to lose their impact.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing post-survey? Assuming you've got the survey right, with the right amount of segments and questions, and you're asking the right audience, which we discussed at the start, what are you doing with the output?
Yeah.
You need to do something with the output and then measure the results and the behaviours that you're observing as a result of that action and those decisions.
Yeah.
You've got to, it's a continuous process.
Exactly. And then going forward, it gives people more confidence when they're answering them in the future, and you're going to get better results.
They know they work for an organisation who will listen
and
action as a result of whatever comes out of those surveys and whatever the organisation is telling the leadership team. We care, we want things to improve. So here's the decisions, here's the investment, here's the action, and we're going to continue to measure that and make sure that it delivers upon our promise.
Yeah.
And that's what the best leaders do. Lydia English, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back shortly with another T2 Hubcast.